Welcome to the first annual Bracketology versus Hacketology. Josh Parcell. In just a few minutes, we will have Hacksaw joining us for your full bracket analysis. You're going to get the expert opinion from me, the brainiac, the guy who spends hours breaking down these games, researching every nugget, looking for that one stat that might help you find that Cinderella, and then Hacksaw's going to come in and mess the whole thing up. And he'll probably win the pool, but let's get to the picks. We've already skipped through the first round. It is time to get to the top. Duke and Central Florida in the second round. Nice little storyline here. The committee tells you they don't want to pick for storylines, but they've got Johnny Dawkins taking on his former coach in Mike Krzyzewski. No chance for UCF. I'm worried that Zion might break 7'7" Taco Fall in two. So we're going to advance Duke there. In the next game down, we've got Liberty, Virginia Tech, the battle for Southwest Virginia. I like the Hokies. They get Justin Robinson back in this tournament. I think that makes them a very underseeded team. They could have been a 2 or a 3 seed had Robinson not gone down. Belmont, I think, is going to get past Maryland. They're taking on LSU. Tempted to pick Yale here. Don't be surprised if Yale does pull off that upset, but I do have LSU coming out, and I think the Tigers get by Belmont despite all the off-the-court controversy surrounding Will Wade right now. But with Naz Reid, Javonte Smart, they're going to advance to the Sweet 16. Louisville, Michigan State. I like the Spartans. They're dealing with some injuries. They just had Aarons go down. Obviously, they've been playing without Joshua Langford, but I just think they have too much size, too much experience in the backcourt. I've got Michigan State over Louisville, a team that looked a lot better about a month ago. Moving down into the West region, we've got Gonzaga and Baylor. Baylor's a team that started off terrible in the non-conference, caught fire in the middle of the Big 12 season, but struggled down the stretch. I'm going to take Gonzaga with their size. I like Rui Hachimura and, of course, Killian Tilly inside to overwhelm Baylor. Marquette and Florida State. Look, this is a fantastic matchup. You're going to get Marcus Howard or Ja Morant, the winner of that first-round game, going up against Florida State's length, their great defense. I'm going to take Florida State in this game. I'm riding the hot hand. Florida State looked excellent here in Charlotte last weekend. I think the Noles advance to the Sweet 16. Buffalo and Texas Tech. Buffalo's a fun team. 31-3 this season out of the MAC. Most wins ever for a MAC team going into the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech plays great defense. This will be a trendy pick. I think a lot of people are going to pick Buffalo to make it, but I think Texas Tech's defense is going to overwhelm Buffalo, and they've got Jarrett Culver. He's a future top 10 pick on offense. Florida and Michigan. I feel like they play every other year in football, and now they're meeting on the hardwood. I think the Wolverines get past this game. Phenomenal defense. If you like good defense, you love the West region. All of these teams down here play phenomenal on the defensive end of the floor. We're going to move over to the right side of the bracket now before we advance to the Sweet 16. So Virginia and Ole Miss. You've got one of the best defenses historically in college basketball in Virginia, taking on an Ole Miss team that's got some guys who can fill it up, but they don't have enough. If Virginia's going to win this game, I do think the Cavaliers are on a mission after last year losing in the first round to UMBC. Ever heard of it? Oregon and UC Irvine. So here's where it gets a little hairy. I don't have a ton of upsets in the first round, but I do think Oregon squeaks past Wisconsin. The Badgers, not a great offensive team. Defensively, they're fantastic, but Oregon's playing really good basketball. They won the Pac-12 tournament. I like the Ducks. They've recovered nicely after losing Bol Bol. UC Irvine, another 30-win team, mid-major, kind of like Buffalo, play great defense. I think they get past Kansas State without Dean Wade. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I kind of like UC Irvine to get there, but I'm going to take Oregon in a close game. This will be a fun one to watch if they get to the second round. Villanova and Purdue, two excellent coaches. One of the best coaching matchups we could see in the second round. Jay Wright versus Matt Painter. I'm going to take Villanova here. Look, Jay Wright won the Big East regular season. He won the Big East tournament. This is what he does now. He has become kind of the next generation's Tom Izzo, where you just can rely on Jay Wright. You can set your watch to it come March. Cincinnati, Tennessee. I like Tennessee in this game. I think Cincinnati lacks discipline sometimes. I know they got a big one over Houston in the American Championship, but I like the Vols to rebound after losing in the SEC Championship game. North Carolina down here in the Midwest region taking on Utah State. Look, I love the Tar Heels. I'll get some more on them later, but I think they get past Utah State easily. Auburn and Kansas. Auburn won the SEC tournament. Kansas limping in. They were preseason #1. Did not have the kind of year they expected. They've lost Udoka Azubuike. They also lost Gerald Vick for personal reasons. Never had Silvio De Sousa. This team is not what we expected it to be. I think Auburn wins this game. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Northeastern is in this spot instead of Kansas. Iowa State and Houston. Not a lot of people know about the Cougars, but Houston has played tremendous basketball all year long, winning the regular season in the American. But Iowa State has guys that can score. You've got Shayok, Shayok from Virginia, the transfer, averaging over 19 points a game. He has been an excellent addition for Steve Prohm's squad. Wofford and Kentucky. Now this is a team, local team here from Spartanburg. Wofford, they could become the darlings of the tournament. They've got Storm Murphy, who shoots over 50% from three. Fletcher McGee, 43%. I really love Wofford, but Kentucky's got too much length, too much strength, too much athleticism. PJ Washington will overwhelm the Terriers there, so I've got Kentucky. Wofford, though, listen, they will not be afraid. They've beaten North Carolina in Chapel Hill. They've taken on a bunch of big boys. They will not be afraid of the moment. That game has the makings of a classic. So we've got our Sweet 16 here. We're going to pivot back on the left-hand side, Eastern region. Duke, Virginia Tech, rematch of a game about a month ago. The Hokies won. They were missing Justin Robinson, but Duke was missing Zion. I'm going to do it. I'm taking Virginia Tech to upset Duke. Not just because I'm a homer. I really do think the Hokies match up well with Duke. They force you to shoot threes. Duke, if they made the Final Four, very possible, if they made it, they would be the worst three-point shooting team in the history of the Final Four. Nobody has shot it as poorly as they have, 30.4% from three, and made it all the way to the Final Four. I'm betting on history. I think the Hokies make a surprising run. Winning that game in DC, by the way, virtual home game for Virginia Tech. LSU, Michigan State. I'm going Michigan State. I think it will be an impressive run for LSU just to make it that far with everything that's gone on. Give me the Spartans taking on the Hokies in the Elite Eight. Gonzaga and Florida State. Look, Gonzaga has played really well all year long, over 30 wins, but they've only played 5 games against quadrant 1 opponents all year long. I think Florida State's got the kind of length that's going to bother them. You've got Kabengele, you've got, of course, Terrence Mann in the backcourt. I really like what Florida State has to offer against Gonzaga. It's a tough matchup for the Zags. They lost to St. Mary's in an ugly game in the West Coast Conference Final. I'm taking Florida State to knock off the #1 seed Gonzaga. Down here at the bottom, Michigan and Texas Tech. Look, this game, first team to 50 wins. Great defense on both sides. I'm going to take the Wolverines in that one, though. I think they've got a few more guys on offense. Plus, John Beilein has been here before. I think that Michigan wins in that one. We'll advance to the Final Four here before we move to the right side. Virginia Tech and Michigan State. Love my Hokies, but Michigan State's going to get there. I'm not going against Tom Izzo. I think the Spartans are going to Minneapolis for the Final Four, and they're going to rematch Michigan. I like the Wolverines. John Beilein versus Tom Izzo. We're going to get part 3 of that rivalry. Actually, I believe part 4. They met in the Big Ten championship game. Michigan State won. We'll get to see that one for yet another time in the Final Four. As we move over to the right-hand side, now we are in the Sweet 16. We've got Virginia and Oregon up top. Virginia wins easily in this one. That's a dream matchup for the Cavaliers when they get to the Sweet 16. They cruise to the Elite Eight. Villanova and Tennessee. Jay Wright, Rick Barnes. I'm tempted to go Jay Wright here, but I think this is the end of the road for Villanova. I think Tennessee has too much talent, especially inside Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield. Too much for Villanova to handle. North Carolina and Auburn, UNC. I think Auburn is a red-hot team. They could provide a ton of trouble for North Carolina. They're very athletic. They play high pressure with Bruce Pearl. They will enjoy the pace that North Carolina wants to play, but I think that too much talent in the end for Carolina wins out. Iowa State, Kentucky. I'm going Kentucky here. I like Iowa State's offense, as I mentioned before, but look, Kentucky, they've got probably 6 pros on that team. You're not going to knock off Iowa State, or you're not going to knock off Kentucky if you're Iowa State. So now we're getting into the Elite Eight. Virginia and Tennessee. Look, I'm going Virginia. I'm tempted to go with the Vols here, but I think Virginia's a team of destiny right now. They struggled in the ACC tournament against Florida State. I just don't see a team in this region that really threatens them. Tennessee needs to be able to make shots if they want to beat Virginia. That's not their strong suit. They're a more post-oriented team. That doesn't bode well for them against the pack line of Virginia. North Carolina and Kentucky. I'm going with the Tar Heels. This is a rematch of a game that took place in December on a neutral floor. This time, Carolina wins it in St. Louis. Tough matchup for them against Kentucky. A lot of athleticism, but I take the Tar Heels. I think they're too balanced. Here it is, the Final Four. I've got Michigan State, Michigan, the Big Ten on one side. I've got the ACC on the other. I'll start over here in the Big Ten. I really like Michigan. They're healthier. I think that this could be the end of the road for Michigan State. I'm taking John Beilein to get back to the national championship game. Second year in a row where the Wolverines will be here. Can they avenge that loss last season to Villanova? We'll find out. Virginia and North Carolina on this side. Virginia won by 7 earlier this season in Chapel Hill. This was a game Carolina led until late. Cam Johnson goes down with an injury. Kyle Guy hits a couple big threes. I think with a full-strength North Carolina squad, they have enough to push them over the top in this one. Again, offense typically wins out when you get into these games, and I think North Carolina has more of that than Virginia does. National championship game, Michigan, North Carolina. Chris Webber rematch back from the early 90s. I'm going to go with the Tar Heels. I think they cut down the nets. I think this team has balance. I think this team has explosive scoring in the backcourt. Luke May has been a steadying presence inside. As a senior, Cam Johnson, one of the best shooters in the country. There's just not a weakness on this North Carolina team. This is it, Bracketology. Forget about Hacketology. This is the bracket you want to fill out. You want to win your pool, take these picks.
Yeah, this looks nice. Got a few changes though.
You're gonna pick in silence?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very confident.
Yeah, well, you know, first off, Virginia's gonna lose to Duke because it's Virginia Tech. That's what they do. But Belmont's gonna beat LSU because it's Belmont. And Belmont's gonna lose to Michigan State because it's Michigan State. I'm not you. I can't do things.
Naming the teams?
Yes, I'm just gonna name the teams. They're gonna win. Now let's go over here, which was the big upset of Josh because he's wrong. And why is he wrong? Because UVA is going to get upset for the second time by Gardner-Webb. That's right. I don't care if it looks bad.
G-Webb.
So, G-Webb is going to win. So now it's G-Webb versus Mississippi. Old Miss, Mississippi, I don't know. Whatever.
You're the expert.
But it's gonna be Webb. You know what? They're gonna go that far, but they're gonna lose to Oregon. Okay, let's just be honest. They're gonna lose to Oregon. All right, so that looks good. Tennessee will get back to you. Now, let's go to the famous UNC. The place that I've hated since I was 7. But they're gonna beat Utah and whatever that is, whatever that is. But they're gonna beat those two. And then it's gonna be UNC versus, that's right, I'm going with them, Kansas. Like Josh, I'm gonna do an upset here. We're gonna start over here with UNC and Kentucky. Kentucky will beat UNC. Calling it now. So, now we have over here the very important thing. I think that Gonzaga is going to beat Michigan. And then it's gonna be, of course, it's gonna be Duke. But here's the fun part. I think, and I'm basing this on earlier this year, in that Maui whatever it is, confrontational. Whatever it is, confrontational. Gonzaga will beat Duke. That's right, I said it here first, folks. Gonzaga will beat Duke. All the hay bale has already started, and I don't care. And then over here, we're gonna have Tennessee versus Kentucky. I'm going with Tennessee. Why? Because I wanna. And then who's gonna win it all? That's right, I'm going with Zaga. Am I a Zaga fan? No. Do I think Zaga can win it? Yes. End of story.